Hey, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. I'm gonna do some mastering right now live, and I thought, hey, might as well share it with you guys here on YouTube and go through my process and kind of talk a little bit about what I'm doing with the track and why I'm doing it, and sort of the steps I take when I'm mastering in the box, and things to kind of look out for, and just I don't know, just go through the process with you guys. I thought it'd be really fun to do this live. But yeah, we did when I was out of town last week. Will did some live song reviews, and we chose some winners to master their songs. So this song here is going to be from it's called "Can You Hear Me," and it's going to be from artist named Margo Polo. So I'm going to be getting into Pro Tools and doing this master. I'm going to show you guys kind of all my steps I take when I'm mastering in the box, and how I listen, how you really should be listening when you're mastering, and kind of what we look for when we're mastering records as opposed to just mixing, or as opposed to like mixing through a mastering bus, because that's pretty normal nowadays, I'd say in 2021 and beyond, that a lot of people are mixing into mastering buses. But a lot of the times I get from clients, I get stereo tracks, and they're like, yo, I just need a master. I love the way the mix sounds. Could you master this? And it's kind of interesting because modern day mastering, when people send you that kind of stuff, I think most of the time they're thinking, make it louder, right? Make it louder. Keep it fat. Keep it exactly how I have it, but make it louder. Which is not really all that's involved in mastering. Actually, it's a very small part of mastering. Making things louder is very easy, right? Changing the gain, compressing the crap out of stuff, limiting stuff. But I'm going to show you guys truly how I master in the box. And I will say right up front that mastering is, it's a learned skill, and it takes years to get good at, because your ear training has to become developed over time. It doesn't just happen. People say, oh, I mastered my own shit, right? It's like, okay, so you use Ozone or L2s or limiters or whatever. You got the latest plugins. Cool. But that's really a very, very small portion of getting a great professional master that's going to translate and actually going to give more vibe to the song rather than take away from the song, etc. And understanding different genres, understanding what needs to come up, come down, come into the sides, lessen the sides, etc. So I'm just going to show you straight up how I start and how I finish a master right here, right now. And I'm excited that you guys are here. So whoever's here, drop a comment. Let me know that you're here. I'd love to, connect with you guys. Today, I'm going to jump into Pro Tools. I usually master either in Pro Tools or Logic Pro when I'm in the box. And just because they're my preferred working environments. A lot of mastering engineers use Sequoia, which is a PC-only software platform. Or they use, there's Wave, there's something by Steinberg, I forget what it's called, Wave Lab or something like that. But there's a bunch of different softwares to do this, but any of them really work the same, right? Like if it's a DAW and it works with WAV files, you're good. You don't need like special software to master in, okay? So I got a couple, what's up, Noel? How you doing? So I wanted to say what's up to you guys. Tony, is Pro Tools better? No, I don't think so. Every DAW basically does the same thing nowadays. We're almost halfway through 2021. I mean, there's really no differences. They sound different, just a little bit different, but that's really up to you. Like, yo, I like this because it sounds different or sounds better to your ears. To me, I like Pro Tools and I like Logic. I think they both sound really great. They have great sound engines. They have great algorithms, and they've been worked on for decades, right? So they work about the same. There's no difference when people tell you like, oh, Pro Tools sounds better than Logic. Logic sounds better than FL Studio. Like, it's all bullshit. Just so you guys know, okay? Make up your own mind. They're all softwares that use algorithms, and most of them actually use the algorithms from the built-in OS, right? So from Mac OS or from Windows, etc. So yeah, don't worry about all the bullshit you hear online where people are like, that sounds better than this sounds better. It has a lot more to do with your converters, the way that your ears work and the training in your ear, the monitoring that you're using. Like I master with the Focal SM9s. They're a 3-way system. They go down to 30 hertz. They go all the way up to, I think, 40,000 hertz. So beryllium tweeters. They're very nice, defined, and they make you work hard to make stuff sound really great, right? There's other monitors, I think, that just sound good right away. Like the Barefoots, you turn them up, they just sound good. Everything sounds good on them, which I don't like because it makes you kind of not work as hard to get the song, the master, that's then going to translate everywhere else. Because you turn it on and you're like, that sounds sick! I don't want to do anything to this. It sounds great! And then you bring it to the car and you're like, this sounds like shit. I missed everything. Like, where's the mid-range, you know? So I don't like monitors that add flash to the sound, and that's really important when you're mastering. Okay, so I want to stop talking and I want to show. Okay, so let's go to the desktop. Okay, so here we are. This is Pro Tools, and I'm going to show you kind of like how I set up my sessions for mastering. So this is the reference file. I just basically duplicate the file. Reference file, which is the final mix, right, that they got. And then I have the reference file here again. And the reason I do that is because when you go into the mixer, what I'm going to have is I'm going to have a master augs. And the master augs is what I want my mastering plugins to be on. And that way I can switch between the reference and I could switch between the reference and the final master, right? And I usually leave XOR soloing on, but you can see it's latch. So in here, you go to setup and, in options and turn solo mode to XOR. So this just cancels the solo so I can switch between them, right? So I can go bam, bam, right? And this is, this can be solo saved. Basically, this track here is going through the master augs. This track here is going directly through the master with no plugins, completely clean, going right out of the converters through the speakers, okay? That way I have an A-B. I can A-B very easily, okay? So the first thing that I am going to do right now in mastering is I'm just going to listen. You guys, if you want to be mastering your records better, you got to learn really how to listen. So we're going to listen to the track. We're going to listen for a few things. I'm going to listen for balance of instruments. I'm going to listen for tonalities. But usually in mastering, we're really focused on dynamics. We're focused on width. I'm focused on the overall equalization. Like, is anything popping out? Is anything annoying to my ear if I turn it way up? Is anything missing if I turn it way down? Right? So I'm just going to pay attention to that. So let's give it a listen. And again, this is Can You Hear Me by Margo Polo. Here we go. Okay, so that's about all I really need to listen to. I understand this music, the genre. Kind of reminds me of like Tame Impala, to be honest. It's not as silky and buttery and separated as Tame Impala, so that's kind of what I'm going to go for. I'm going to think in kind of that space, like things need to be deeper, they need to be more separated, wider, punchy, and less muffly, right? So I just write down notes right as I'm listening, and the things that just automatically I'm like, dude, I need to fix that. I need to clarify that, right? Background vocals seem buried at beginning. Vocals sound too muffled in the 300 to 500 range. Need more separation overall. Mix sounds like a blanket, like there's a blanket over it. Just kind of sounds like everything's kind of muffled. Missing the low sub range. I'm missing like that, like the hum, the 40 hertz kind of area. Bass sounds muddy and ill-defined. It just sounds like really woofy, which is typically going to be like in the 500 to 500 to 200 kind of area. Okay, so this is going to be something that I'm just going to literally like automatically, like, that's the difference. That's why you pay someone to master your stuff that's been doing it for a long time, or even mix your stuff, right? You pay engineers because engineers know exactly what's wrong and what's missing. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to see what I'm doing, which is something that's really important with all of this, is to understand a little bit like from like viewpoint. Like I want to view what's going on. Okay. So I don't know why this isn't activated, but let's do this. So this is the first thing I do. I want to see everything. I want to see spatial stuff, like what's in and out of phase, what's in the sides. I also want to pay attention to the LUFs. So one thing you have to understand about Spotify is that -12 LUFs, that's the loudness where Spotify won't touch your music, okay? Now, if you get above that, let's say you go louder. Let's say you go -12 to, let's say you get to -9, or you go -4. Spotify's algorithm is just going to turn your music down, okay? So -12 is kind of like where things are. Every track's different. Every track calls for a different loudness. We're not really in the loudness wars anymore because all of these DSP services turn up or down your music. So if you're looking for a really loud master, you could be actually just fucking yourself, really. You could be making this really loud piece of shit that Spotify is going to turn down to -12 LUFs, and now you have no dynamics, no punch, and when it plays back to back to another record, there's actually sounds a lot smaller than those other records because you don't have anything there. You just have a wall of sound that's just getting turned down, right? So people are like, there's no competitive edge, I guess, today in making your record louder, okay? And the reason being why we made loud records back in the days is because for CDs, when you played a CD, one would be louder than the other. It sounded better. It's just the way it works. That's how we hear things, okay? Little tip for you there. So I'm just going to watch this, and I'm going to pay attention to LUFs in the loudest spot, okay? Meaning the most volume, the most voltage. So right about here, this last chorus. Okay, so we're hovering around -16 or so on the LUFs, which means we have some really great headroom to play with. I think this record can be a lot louder, with still keeping the dynamics. Okay, so let's just say we have like probably a good 8 to 10 dB of headroom to play with, which is amazing. All right, so let's get into fixing some stuff. So I'm gonna put this on the master, actually. I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a new channel, and I'm going to make a master fader. And then this master I'm going to have out here, and this SPL Hawkeye is going to be sort of like looking at everything, right? So even if I play it through the master augs, it's all going to hit the master. Okay, and then there's some really funky frequencies in that mid-range that I need to clean up as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring in some gain. by using a compressor plugin, which I really like. The Townsend, I think it's Townsend. I'm not sure. I forget what they call it, but it is by Plugin Alliance. Let me see here. So Plugin Alliance, this BX Digital Townhouse. So Townhouse is basically an SSL compressor. So I'm going to pop this in, and I'm just going to get some gain from it. I'm not going to do too much compression, all right? So here we go. Okay, so we're gaining this up. We're getting a little more, you know, level from it, basically. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to start looking at some EQ stuff, which I am going to use the BX Digital. You see how I love this BX Digital stuff. V3. You could use this for Plugin Alliance, which is running off the CPU, or you can use it for UAD. I know they have both. I have both because I fucking love this plugin. It's like one of my favorites for EQing mid-side and all that. I like to start out with mid-side. Let's see, there's just like a preset here that just gives you a start. And I basically open this up, and then I just like literally go through here and option click all of this off because I don't want any of that stuff on. You can see there's a filter on here and +1. So I'm just basically starting where I have a middle and a sides. So mono section here and stereo section here. And this way I can monitor the sides from the middle. Okay, we're going to start to clean up the middle first. Also, I'm going to start to get my gain structuring down as well. And I'm just going to give this a little bit of width, you know, 115, 115%, 110%. You don't want to go too much on any widening because then you can run into phase issues. Okay, and then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out sort of the bullshit down here. And I like leaving this at a 6 dB per octave, and I filter out probably about, you know, I'm just doing this because I hear what the problems are. Just so you guys know, I'm not just like randomly grabbing stuff. I've listened to the record. Okay. So that's the important part about mastering is listening. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go in here and, I'm going to say mono maker, and I'm actually going to put the sub stuff, which is probably for me, it's like 45 or so and below. I'm going to put that directly in the middle. So it has an anchor point in the record, the bass line will. Okay, and then I'm going to start searching around the low mids and start cleaning up some of that stuff to bring through more clarity, okay? So here we go. All right, so far, just so you guys know what I'm doing, and I'm talking a little bit through it. So here I'm giving it more sub and more foundation here. I'm tightening it all up by sweeping out some of this garbage at the bottom. This is the middle, okay, the middle of the actual, like, you know, if you're thinking about phantom stereo imaging, whatever, when you listen to a record in stereo, it's the middle, the center of what you're hearing, okay? And then I'm taking out more of this like boxy garbage here, which I think is probably more at 255. So I'm actually just going to bring that down a little bit. I can hear it. It's just all over this record. Lots of 255. You can also just double click in here if I want to just go 255. Or can I? Or can I? No, I guess I can't. Sorry, guys. Okay, so 253, 255. Let's bring this up. Like, it's just right in here. And this is a cool way to, like, you can frequency, like, go through here and just like really notch it in. But it solos out everything when you do that, which I think is super rad. But I've taken out half a dB, right? Half a dB of 787. There's just like these peaky little resonance in his vocal and stuff that like they're like firing off. Just trying to mellow that down a little bit. 1.4, I'm giving the vocal a little bit more clarity and pushing it forward. Smoothing the record out overall and giving a little bit more width, which actually I'm going to bring up a little bit more. And I'm going to go into the sides here, and I'm also going to start to take out a little more of the stuff in the sides that I don't like, which I think will be like more like anything that's going to be irking the ear if I turn it up loud, right? So let's go up here and do the into the 2K kind of area and check that out. So right away, when I put it in and out, you're going to notice a lot more clarity, a lot more definition, and that's what I think the record needs right away. Okay, so let's move on. We have plenty of gain that we can still get out of this thing, but now I've done a little compression to glue things together. I've done some EQing. I'm just going to show you that in and out right here so you can see how much we've done already. Okay, so quite a bit already, right? Like you think, oh, we've done a little bit of compression, really just gaining, and a little bit of EQing. Like, it's like, okay, there you go. Like, it's already done so much for the track. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to bring in a little bit more harmonics into this track because I feel like it's just kind of flat. It feels kind of boring and flat to me, but it really needs to feel like deep and warm and fat. So the next plugin I'm going to bring in, and by the way, you guys, like, you know, all these plugins, you can have every single plugin in the world. It's not going to do shit for you. You might actually even ruin your songs if you don't know what the hell you're doing or why you're doing it. Okay, so this is the Vertigo VSM3. I love this plugin for saturation, but I also just love it for its harmonic stuff. So same thing, I'm going to go to mid-side master. And I'm going to start to tweak this the way that I think that I want to hear it, okay? So I'm just going to change some parameters here because I use this all of the fucking time. And we're going to go like this. And this should be giving us a little bit more of what we want here. Okay, and I won't explain this plugin. I've done a plugin of the week on this. You can go check that out. But let's hear what we got here. Okay, so we're getting a lot more depth. We're getting a lot more width out of this, but we're also getting a lot more heavy, like low saturation in the bottom that's just right in the middle. I also, as I'm hearing this, I want to compress and bring that sidechain filter back out and off on this. And I actually might want to compress a little harder with this and just do parallel for it. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So we're starting to really make this more three-dimensional. Like that's what a lot of these things are doing, clearing it up, and then we're adding some saturation harmonics, which is just making it feel like more real, right? Like not so flat and in the box, right? Even though we're in the box, I could be using hardware, I could be using outboard gear. Nobody's going to be able to tell the difference. I promise you when I'm done with this master. If I mix this record, you'd definitely not be able to tell the difference whether it was mixed in the box or out of the box. And a lot of the times I mix hybrid anyway, so I do some out of the box, but mainly in the box. All right, so now we're starting to get more width, more thickness, more clarity, all that stuff. I want to now like start to separate things. And the way I separate things is, I mean, there's a few ways you can really do it, but I'm actually going to use the Sound Theory plugin that I just absolutely love, Golfoss on here. And this is a bit of a cheat code, but you really have to understand how to use it. So I'm just going to pull in these. Yeah, we'll probably not want to affect too much below 40. And you got to be careful of this really top stuff, especially with something you want to sound really analog. Okay, and then I'm going to boost this up so it gives a little bit of a smiley curve. And if you want to know more about this plugin, I've done a plugin of the week on the page here, so you're more than welcome to dive into that. Yeah, thanks, Tony. Appreciate you, man. Seriously, when we're done with this, believe me, it's going to be night and day. This is going to sound like it came out of a multi-million-dollar studio. All right. So let's check this out. So now I'm going to start to basically break the pieces apart so we can really hear things more clearly and separated. All right. That's what I'm using this plugin for. So I'm going to tame a little bit. Probably like around here, I think would be good. And then I'm going to recover a little bit more. I'm going to give it this. All right, so you can see the curve it's giving me. Let's hear what this is doing, and I'll adjust as I go to make sure that everything's perfect. Here we go. So you can see already, like, it just sounds so much clearer, wider, three-dimensional. It's jumping out of the speakers a little bit more, right? Like, that's what a master should do, right? So, but we're not done. Like, there's a few things I still want to do. Okay, I do want to give it just a little bit more gas, which is, you know, for me, I'm thinking what I really want to hear on it is the Oxford inflator. I want to inflate it a little bit. I want it to feel a little bit more, a little more saturated, but also just like a little more forward. All right, so check this out. Okay, now we're starting to sound like a record, right? Like we're getting there. He gave me a lot of headroom to play with, which is really cool. So now let's start looking at the SPL Hawkeye and kind of see where we're at with the LUFs and kind of check out anything here that we can visually check out. All right, so we're peaking out right around like -13.5, not bad. But I want you to like really pay attention to like how much we've actually gained it up. It's not much. It's maybe 4 dB, 3 dB, somewhere around there. So we still have plenty of headroom and plenty of gain to get out of this record without it falling apart, right? But you don't, I think a lot of people when they're thinking mastering, they're thinking, dude, I got to make it fucking loud, bro. Throw a limiter on there. It's just not the way it works, you know? You have to have a great mix, first of all. And I don't think this is the greatest mix in the world. I think it can be a lot better. But it's a decent mix, you know, and the master will definitely make it, you know, shine a lot more. And I'm just going to be shaping as I go. So the next thing I want to do is start to limit, right? And I am not shy about limiting. I don't think anyone should be shy about limiting unless they don't know what they're doing, okay? Super important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into one of my favorite limiters, which is the DMG Audio Limitless. I've actually done also a plugin of the week on this as well, if you guys want to check that out. I really love this smooth style algorithm. You have a bunch of different stuff. You have warm, punchy, all that. I think smooth sounds the best. I'm going to turn the release down. I think the release can be a little bit quicker. Yeah, 98 milliseconds, great place to start. This is amazing. This is like a multi-band EQ as well, which is going to be a way that I'm going to shape this as well. And I'm going to hit the ceiling. I'm going to say -3. I don't think this needs to be a super loud record. It just doesn't. When I hear this, I don't think like, oh, this needs to be so loud, bro. Like it's not a crazy, like, you know, distorted 808, you know, trap shit. Like it doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be soft and smooth and silky and wide and separated and swimmy, and it needs to be a complete vibe, right? So that's what I'm really focused on here. So now I'm going to start bringing this threshold down. Let's go -2.7 to start, and let's see what we're doing here. Okay, so what we're doing is we're basically shaping. There's two limiters on this thing. I don't really want to get into all that, but like I said, if you want to learn more about this, watch the plugin of the week on it. But one thing you're going to notice is this is hitting now negative 11.9 LUFs, and I think we could actually go like just a couple dB louder. But I think that's really, we're starting to push it. And you notice as you limit, you start to bring up high end, right? You start to bring up low end. You start to bring up everything because that's what a limiter does. It smashes it down and then you make up gain, right? And it has a ceiling of negative 0.3. So what happens is you start bringing up all that tinny stuff that I didn't really like, which you have to go back and you have to adjust things, you know, like you have to think, okay, I have to go back and forth, right? Think of all these plugins as modular rather than thinking about them as like a serial chain of stuff, and you'll be a lot better off with your masters. All right, so one thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this down a little bit, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit so that I'm not getting that really top stuff because it's not really right for this record for me. And we can take this tame and we can bring it down a little bit, and let's just adjust some things so that we're not getting so much of that tinny top stuff, right? And I'm looking in the sides here as well because now this is affecting our limiting, right? So I'm going to go check out these top areas, maybe up here from like 5K to 10K, okay? So let's check that out. So one thing I'm doing with the Oxford inflator that I'm not really explaining to you guys, this effect is really going to bring up all that top, high, mid stuff. And I'll show you as I bring that up. So that's sounding great so far to me. Now let's see if we can get just a little more level out of this. And one thing I love to use in Ozone, which a lot of people just throw Ozone on something and they're like, yeah, that's mastering, bro. I just mastered my record, bro. You know, do your own thing. I don't care. You know, I'm not hating on anybody, but Ozone 9, I really love to use a few things in here, which I'm going to show you. All right, so I like the maximizer a lot. I'm also going to add a dynamic EQ because I absolutely love the dynamic EQ. It's incredible. I like to EQ, I like to dynamic EQ, and then I like to maximize. There's also the low-end focus, which I think is really dope as well. So we might actually put this in between the equalizer and the dynamic EQ. And I'll show you what I'm doing with that. I kind of want to just like have more punch from that kick drum because I just don't think it was mixed well. It's just not giving me like the, you know, it's not hitting the way that I feel like it should be hitting. So we're going to use that, and I'll show you what that's going to do. We're going to use this to shape and the dynamic EQ to kind of get rid of any resonance that are going to not allow us to maximize as well. So that's like, you know, as you limit, you might be bringing up more of that 2K or stuff that's going to be ear piercing, especially on the top end. Like a lot of the times I like to limit the top, right? So let's just check this out. Maximizer. I think for this, me knowing what this thing does, I'm gonna leave it on modern, and I'm gonna go just a little bit faster on the character here, and I don't really like true peak limiting. I'm not really into it. It doesn't make sense to me. It just adds artifacts basically. And I'm just not into the true peak kind of thing, you know, like this, you got to be careful with true peak. It's gonna bring in like all sorts of random shit. It's good for people like if they're, if you're not in the best listening environment, I would use true peak just because it'll kind of like, you know, make sure that you don't clip and sound like shit. You know, it'll be very obvious when it is clipping. Transient emphasis, I'm going to leave that off for now, but I am going to bring in some transients into the stereo stuff and a little bit of sustain, not much. And I think this is a good starting point. And let's start to tweak this and make sure that we got everything right. So I think this is pretty damn close. So at this point, what I would do with mastering is I basically like make a bounce of this, and then I'd go play it in the car and stuff, or just on earbuds, and just kind of check it out. Check it out with like headphones, all that stuff, and see if there's anything that's really like screwing with my head. I'm like, oh god, there's way too much of that, or way too much of this, or too little of that, etc. But I'm really, really close. I think like just to smooth it out and butter it, it's just, yeah, thank you, Tony. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, I've been, you know, I think like we've made a huge, like massive improvement here. A lot more clarity, a lot more spaciousness, a lot more separation. You can hear what they're actually singing, but it's not like, it's not getting stale. It sounds much more analog, but it sounds clearer. It's a lot louder. As you can see from the SPL Hawkeye, we're hitting around -7.5, -7 LUFs, which I think this record would perform really well on Spotify at that LUFs. I think if you went much louder, you'd probably have some issues. You'd probably, you know, getting turned down by Spotify, I'd be like, it doesn't sound as good. So at this point, I think it could be a little bit warmer. And the only thing I'm going to do to make that happen is I'm going to pop on this OEK Sound Soothe 2, and I'm going to go through a mastering. I'm just basically going to jump into a mastering thing that's going to give me a little less. Let's see. There's a really great one in here. Let me see. Helping the Eurovision, low res fix. Make my ballad. Hold on. Trying to remember which one it was. Side reso fix. Save me from the big bad mid monster. I don't know. They got crazy shit in here. So I don't think that's going to be the one. But I'm going to flip through a couple of these, and then I'm going to dial in what I want here. I basically want to like butter out that high mid area that's just really starting to get a little aggressive for me. right, so I'm just going to A-B this. I actually brought this one up 7.8 dB, which I think is a pretty good match. I'm going to bring it up just a touch more, so you're not getting like, oh, wow, that one's louder. It sounds better, right? So here is the reference, and then I'll play the final master here. I'll just bounce between the two. I'm just going to give this a little bit more there. All right. And you guys let me know what you think. All right. Thanks for coming through, and Margo Polo, you got it, bro. That's this is his track. You guys go follow him, and we're excited about the release, man. Can't wait to hear it out on Spotify. It's gonna crush it. It's a great song. All right, let me play the before and after, and then I'm gonna get out of here, guys. There you have it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Drop a comment on the video. Would love that. Like it, share it with whoever. You know, always here, always going to be doing these. And from now on, I'll be doing like live mastering sessions like this on the regular, showing you guys different stuff that I would do to make songs sound better. Might even do some live mixing stuff. It's just mixing is just so much deeper. It could get really boring, you know? So hopefully you guys like this. And Margo Polo, I'll be sending you the master. Congrats, dude. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great Monday. I think it's Monday, right? Peace.